Excellent, thank you, thank you. So my name is Christina Hupy, and I am a Senior Education Program Manager here at GitLab, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about our Community Relations team and all of the different programs we have under Community Relations. Just a little bit of background about myself. I joined GitLab back in November. I'm on the community relations team, which rolls up to our awesome marketing organization. And before joining GitLab, I was at another open source company, but in the geospatial technology realm. And then before that, I was a professor for many years. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to come here, was to help spread DevOps and GitLab in higher education. So we'll talk a little bit about that more in just a few minutes. So let's talk a little bit about the GitLab community and some metrics, just to give you an idea of the type of work that we do and the volume of people that we work with from around the world. It's a really exciting part of the company to be in. And we were founded in August of 2018, so we're coming up here on our 2-year anniversary. And over that time, we've grown from 4 to 11 members. And our main goal on the community relations team is to really to build a thriving community of people who contribute and interact with GitLab. And we have over 1 million users of our free and open core versions of the software, and we have over 3,000 code contributors. So these are people out in our community who have actually gone in and made merge requests and contributed maybe to the software itself, or as we'll talk a little bit about as we get into the presentation here. There's a whole bunch of different ways to contribute, including contributing to our documentation, as well as translating some of our docs or parts of the software itself. We average over 180 code contributions per month. We've got over 2,000 plus translators, which is just really, really exciting. Being an academic and having taught software before and taught it to audiences in different parts of the world, if the documentation isn't in the native language of the people who are learning it, it's a huge barrier to learning a new software, especially something like DevOps. So it's really exciting to see that we have so many active translators in 55 different languages. We also have a great meetup program, and we have over 10,000 meetup contributors in 23 countries. We'll talk about the meetup program a little bit later, but it's basically a way to just connect with people and talk about DevOps, and we help bring in speakers, and we help facilitate that, and we set up the WebEx and all of the different logistics that are needed to get going. We also have a GitLab Heroes program, and these are people who are contributors, but then are also really contributing in terms of numbers and the way that they're participating, and it's just a great program to recognize some of our outstanding community members. We have a lot of mentions on social media and Hacker News and a lot of different places out there, and we really put an emphasis on responding to comments and questions, and also connecting people in the community with experts who actually work at GitLab. And that's one of the most rewarding parts of being on this team, is meeting people who are interested, who are using the software, and then helping them build a direct relationship with our engineers and people who are at the company. Speaking from the education side, I just checked the dashboard this morning. We're about 1.6 million seats that we've issued to over 700 different institutions as part of our free GitLab for Education program. We also have a GitLab forum where we have a very active community, and this really serves as our question and answer support for all of our free offerings and people out in the community. And then I think it's important to note that we're growing too. So we have a very strong foundation, but the numbers are increasing literally every month and every quarter. So we're seeing 100% growth quarter over quarter and, or sorry, year over year in our code contributions and our code contributors and our meetup members. So it's a really exciting place. I think part of that is obviously DevOps is really interesting, but then also people are really excited because they can actually contribute and be part of the community. So just a note about some of our partners. So we have a whole open source program, which I'm going to start off talking about here in a few minutes. And some of the biggest open source companies and organizations around the world have migrated over to GitLab. So for example, the Eclipse Foundation just came over recently. We have GNOME, Fedora are some of the other big ones that you may have heard of. And so we really encourage open source communities to consider hosting and building their software on our platform. And we're working very hard to support them in that. And then also we have a growing list of some of the world's top universities teaching and learning and conducting research with GitLab as well. So MIT and Oxford and Cambridge, Duke University. So we have a whole list there. Again, too many to go over since we've got going over 700, but we're really proud and happy to be working with such prestigious universities around the world. Just a little bit about our mission. For me, this is really meaningful coming from, I haven't worked on a community team before, and so I really like to talk about this with the community because it's so exciting to be on a team where our whole focus is just connecting with people like you who are out there and interested in what we're doing. So our goal really is to inspire others to contribute. If you've visited any of our presentations yesterday, I'm sure that you've heard the statement that everyone can contribute, and that's really what our whole team is about, is enabling people to do that, inspiring them. We also foster a culture of leadership, so we really spend a lot of time recognizing the community members out there who are contributing, and a great example of that is our Heroes program. We also send a lot of swag out to our contributors, where we have other support mechanisms where we can sponsor travel, for example, or we also provide sponsorships for our meetup program. We really amplify our reach. So recently we had our technical evangelist team, and I know Abu Bakr is speaking later today, has joined our team. And so we love to get out there and really spread the word about GitLab and DevOps. As I mentioned already, we connect our community with experts, and then we also really spend a lot of time and effort and put thought into recognizing our contributors. So just to put some other faces besides mine to the team here, we have a couple different program managers for open source education, our code contributor program, our evangelist program, and then our community advocates. And our community advocates are really crossing the world. We have someone in Taiwan and Serbia and the United States, and they're really the front lines of getting out there and communicating with the community on the forums and on Twitter and on Hacker News. So you may have interacted with them without knowing before. And then, as I mentioned, that we've recently had the technical evangelist team join us, and it's really exciting to have experts who know the technology and then are also really able to communicate that and get people excited about it. And as I mentioned, Abu Bakr is speaking a little bit later this afternoon, and they just joined the team about a month ago, and I've already been able to collaborate with both Brendan and Michael, and that's just been a really rewarding part of the job. And one of them I'm going to talk a little bit about later, which is that Brendan and I were working with a group called The Last Mile, which teaches people who are incarcerated how to code while they're while they're in the program, so that when they get out, they have some skills to be able to find and start a new life. And so that's been really super rewarding. And if we have time, I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. And then Michael is in Nuremberg, Germany, and I'm working with him on a blog post on how to administer the GitLab for education license in higher education, higher institutions. So first I want to jump a little bit into our open source program. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the open source program is really about helping large and small open source companies move their projects over to GitLab and provide them the resources that they need to be successful and grow their communities. So we really want to be the best product for open source projects to thrive at scale. And our job is to empower and enable those projects with our most advanced features so that we can really create a greater impact within their own spheres of influence. Our goal is to really help them create enterprise level software. So that's one of the reasons that we provide our top tier of GitLab to open source projects that qualify for our program. So they're able to get the ultimate or gold features. So either our self-hosted or our SaaS product, they're able to get all of the features for their open source project. So as I mentioned there, both versions are available. And then also 50,000 CI minutes are included for free as part of that program. And then you can easily purchase additional CI minutes. And we also do provide heavily discounted support at $4.95 per user per month. But I do want to emphasize that with such a strong community, there are so many different places to get support, especially through our forum, our docs, and connecting with experts through all of our different channels, that there's a whole bunch of resources available without having to purchase support. And it's a very simple application through our GitLab for open source landing page. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And then our program manager, Nuritsi Sanchez, just joined us a few months ago. And one of her, she came from another open source company as well. And one of her main goals is to really build an open source partners program. So the idea here is to really find those prominent organizations that are, and the Eclipse Foundation is a good example, that migrate over. And over time, we can really build this mutually beneficial relationship. So things like participating in events, access to the technical evangelists and other technical support while you're migrating over, so that we can make sure that you get off on the best footing there. Visibility and promotion through joint marketing channels, and then a direct line of communication to GitLab. And the program was founded just over, let's see, I think we're coming up closely here on nearing a 2-year anniversary, and just some key metrics. So we have over 330 open source licenses that have been issued and over 29,000 seats. So it is a fairly substantial, and you can see trending upwards, they're growing program. So we're really excited and proud of that. And again, this was really mostly without a program manager. So at GitLab, if you know anything about our culture, we really work on the idea of a minimum viable change. So what's the smallest thing that we can do? And so a lot of these programs were just started and set up, and then they just kind of grew organically. And so it's really exciting to see this kind of growth without much marketing behind it until recently. So we're really excited to see where this can go. And then the next one we're going to talk about is our education program. And the idea with the education program is that we really want to facilitate and drive the adoption of GitLab at educational institutions around the world. And the idea really is to build an engaged community of GitLab evangelists and contributors in the next generation of the workforce. And when I'm talking about GitLab, I'm including there the whole idea of DevOps. DevOps is fairly new in academia. There definitely are some institutions that are teaching it, but it's still very new in the industry itself. And so our goal is to really help universities and all the way K through 12 and educational institutions of all sorts start incorporating DevOps in their education, and all of the benefits that come with working collaboratively in one platform. So it's transforming how we work, and we know that it's going to transform how the next generation of the workforce is able to be successful in the workforce as well. And along with that, if you saw Jessica's presentation yesterday, you probably learned a little bit about our all remote operating model and our company values. So part of what we do in the education program is help universities and higher education institutions understand how to work remotely, some of the best practices that we've developed, but then also help students understand that it's really a whole new world out there now. You know, if you think about when I was in school, it was you have to move to a location where your job is going to be, and you know, if you have a partner or a family or other things that maybe are tied to a place, it would be very difficult to work in, say, certain careers or in certain types of positions. But that's really changing. Obviously, there's always some things where you're going to have a physical location, but especially in tech, it's really opening up a whole new world. And so we're really excited to bring this idea to the next generation of the workforce as well. So the GitLab for Education program offers free licenses of Ultimate or Gold to institutions for teaching, learning, or research. IT professional use is not included in that. So if you are administering anything for your university, so deploying code to machines or running your enrollment system, that's not included in the program. So in those cases, the universities would have to maintain two different licenses. It is unlimited seats, an annual renewal, and the application form is there. And of course, you're always welcome to reach out to our team at education@gitlab.com with any questions that you have, and we'd be happy to answer those. So this is our dashboard, and you can see some exciting numbers here. We have over 780 enrolled institutions, and 1.55 million seats have been issued. And I checked this morning, and it was already up past 6. So I already need to update that slide. We had some huge initial growth when the program launched, and now we're a little bit more at maintenance, but we're excited to continue to grow. As I mentioned, I just started in November, so I took some time to learn the ropes and starting to build relationships with our existing institutions and new institutions as well. So we've issued license in 74 countries around the world, and you can see this map here shows that we're on all continents, and we still have some room to expand, but we're really excited to be in so many different types of institutions and connecting in classrooms around the world. So I wanted to share a little bit about how different institutions are using GitLab. So one of the really, I think to me, just exciting parts of how DevOps and Git technology can be used is in open science and research. So we're seeing a lot of universities use Git technology to manage data and their publications. So they're storing their scientific data in a repository, and anyone who wants to access it can go to this central repository and grab it. But then if they need to, say, run analysis or make a change or reformat it, all of that is stored and kept track of through Git. And it's really helping the integrity of scientific data. It's helping access. Institutions are actually using it to create their publications, very similar to how we create our handbook and our web page and our documentation in GitLab itself. Publications are being created in GitLab as well. I love the idea of using CI and CD for replication in scientific research. So the idea is that if you have multiple data sets where you want the exact same the exact same analytical workflow to be run without having to worry about making sure all your parameters are the same and the operating system is the same and everything is exactly the same so that you're controlling for your results. CI, CD, containerization, and reproducibility are huge tools for being able to do that, and we're really excited to see that part of it grow. And then again, collaboration. Being a professor myself, I've definitely been in this situation where people are passing around Microsoft Word documents and you have version 570 and you're trying to get things to sync back up together. Well, DevOps allows you to keep everything in one central location and collaborate much easier, which really speeds up the cycle to the result. So getting that publication out, especially in things like, say, for example, the medical field with what's going on in the world today, this is a huge advantage to be able to publish faster. Obviously, a lot of universities are learning using GitLab to teach computer science and open source and the basics of coding. So there are professors who are using our CI/CD functions to automatically run a student's code through the pipeline and check it through just like you would with your security checks if you were a company. They're using it to quality grade their code and make sure that it passes pipeline and point out the student's errors. And if you think about that being done automatically, that's pretty revolutionary when it comes to the time that gives back to the professor. Obviously, there's some setup time, but over time, it really pays off. And then one thing that we love to encourage students to do is really showcase their work. So if you go to GitLab and you look at your profile, you can see your contributions. And that's something that we're really proud of as team members, is that we can see on a daily basis how many contributions we're making to the platform and how we're collaborating. And so we encourage students to do the same thing, is to use that profile to their advantage, store work from other classes on the platform, and host and publish blogs on GitLab. And I think that if you're using the software and you're storing your code there and you're building a portfolio, it really adds to your credibility in terms of your skills for when students are entering the workforce. So that's an exciting aspect of it as well. So we're at the stage at the program where we're really excited to start engaging with educators and students who are out there, and all of those 1.6 million people who have a GitLab license through our program. So just if you're one of our program members today or considering being one, we would love to engage with you. So we're doing a whole bunch of exciting things. One of them is you can definitely we can help you host a meetup on your campus or in your community. We're starting a student spotlight program where we want to interview and highlight students on our website. We have a forum, as I mentioned, and we're going to be launching an education-specific category where you can get questions and get your questions answered regarding how to work with GitLab. We have a survey, case studies, lots of exciting things, and then some blog posts there if you want to read a little bit more about the program. Well, next, I'd like to talk about our Code Contributor Program. And the mission of this program is to lower the contribution barrier and grow the GitLab contributor community. And Ray Paik is our program manager for the Community Contributions Program. Community Contributor Program, and he just crossed his 2-year anniversary with GitLab, so that's exciting this week. He also spoke at an open source summit as well, and Ray is just amazing at meeting. I've seen him do this a couple times now, with meeting with any group of people, and within literally 10 minutes they are submitting a merge request. It's really that easy, and so I invite you to consider if you're working with a community group or students or anyone who's interested in learning how to contribute, Ray is a great person to have come and speak, and he'll have everyone submitting MRs in just a few minutes, literally. So we have regular hackathons, and here's some stats here in terms of our merge requests and merge requests for a grand prize, and you can see that he's been able to grow this over time. And for our last release, if you've heard from one of our other presenters, we release on a monthly basis, and the last release we had over 300 merge requests for that release from our community. So again, we have a very active, large, and engaged community, and I want to again stress that it doesn't necessarily have to be this massive code contribution in terms of the software itself. It can be in the docs, it can be in a translation. There's just so many different ways to contribute, and again, one of the biggest parts of our mission is to celebrate and honor and just really really promote the people who are engaged in our community. And so we send swag for example, if you use the my first MR merged hashtag, and then if you participate in the quarterly hackathons, we also send swag, you know, if you won one of the prizes during the hackathon. So we really love engaging and hearing from our community and rewarding their hard work as well. So this is our contributors landing page. If you go to GitLab, about gitlab.com community and then contribute, you can see that we have some resources here on different ways to contribute. And again, obviously you can fix the software itself. So bugs, adding new features, documentation, translation, UX design, and there's a whole bunch of information there on how to get started. There's a blog post, and so we encourage you to check all of that out. We have a contributors Gitter room where contributors can connect with each other and ask for help, and Ray is very active in there, so he can point you in the direction if it's your first MR. Even some of the contributors have been around for a while, still have questions, and we also try to engage with our experts through Gitter. Just to put a plug in for our quarterly hackathon, we have our next hackathon September 2nd and 3rd, and it's open to anyone who's interested in contributing, and prizes are awarded to everyone for having merge requests merge, and there are other rewards throughout the hackathon, so we definitely encourage you to check that out. And one of the things that we really like to stress is when you're in the platform and you're creating a merge request, or you're looking for maybe bugs to fix or places in the documentation, please feel free to reach out directly to Ray or other, you know, if you notice a product manager or engineer, it's part of our goals to make sure that our wider community members are treated the same way as our GitLab team members, with respect and responsiveness, and especially in our feedback, right? Because it is going, you know, if you make a merge request, it is going into our documentation or the product itself, and so we definitely provide meaningful feedback and make sure that things can, that your contributions can get merged in. And then looking ahead, we also want to start exploring how satisfied our community is. We do have a large community, obviously, so we're starting to build some of those measurements of success, such as a survey, into the program. And we also want to measure beyond code contributions. So we also want to look at how many times our community members are commenting on issues or filing issues, because that's important as well. So we get a lot of feedback through public issues. Most of our issues at GitLab are public about how we are operating in the company, and so you can go on the platform and go into marketing and find our issues, as long as it doesn't contain sensitive customer information. And then obviously we want to continue to build those key relationships, and we're always seeking to improve our diversity and inclusion in the wider community. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the evangelist program, and this is really widening the network of GitLab evangelists around the world. And John Coughlin is our program manager for this. If you've met him before, maybe in a meetup, he runs the Heroes program, and then also our meetups program. And they're very different. The Heroes program is recognizing individual contributors who have really gone above and beyond and made a significant contribution to the community. And then our meetups are just really informal gatherings. They were previously mostly in person, but obviously given the pandemic situation, we've moved to virtual events. We have 46 groups around the world who meet on a regular basis from 23 countries, and we've had over 10,000 members participate in our meetup community. So you can see the map here, and again, we're on all the continents, and populated continents anyway, and we've got a nice spread of people engaging in different parts of the world, and it's really exciting. Especially John loves hopping on the call because he usually kicks it off, and just seeing the faces from different parts of the world, it's a pretty exciting thing to be a part of. And here's just some slide shots from, or some screenshots from different meetings. And generally, generally there's a topic. We help you find a speaker if you don't have a speaker, and it can really be about learning any part of the DevOps software development lifecycle or the platform itself. This is an example of one in Hamburg, and this is our Director of Community Relations, David Planella, and he's connecting with some people there in Hamburg at a meetup. And then we have a very active GitLab meetup community in Nigeria as well. And just a little bit about our Heroes program. So as you saw before, we have over 74 heroes crossing the world as well, and they are developers, community members who make significant contributions. And we love the Heroes program because we build that next level of relationship with those developers, and they provide us really meaningful feedback to make our product better and grow our community. And then they also obviously act as evangelists. So if you kind of think of what the Heroes journey looks like, you start off as a contributor, and maybe you start a meetup group or give some tech talks, and then you get some swag. And then to become a hero, there's a whole bunch of different criteria here that you can see yourself, but it's really the idea that you're kind of a rock star in our community, and doing lots of merge requests and organizing meetups and really helping just spread the word about DevOps and Git in your technology. And then there's also a superhero level, which is really cool, and that's where you serve on GitLab's core team. And maybe you've given a keynote or published an article. And here we have coaching available to really build yourself as a technology and thought leader, and access to the GitLab team members for help with publishing that content. And I was at the Scale conference out in California back in January, actually right before the pandemic hit, and one of the heroes was there, and I was able to hear him and speak and connect with the community, and that was really super cool. So next, I'll just mention a bit about our community advocacy program. And someone yesterday said, well, when the advocates sign off for the day, they turn off the lights. But and what they were referring to is that our team of 5 advocates, they really do so much work. They're responding in all of these different channels. So anytime there's a mention on Hacker News, or we get an application, which we get a lot, to our education program and open source program and startups program, they're answering all of these and responding to all of these different channels. So if you've interacted with someone in one of these places, it's probably our community advocates. And just to give you an idea, kind of they're responding pretty quickly, and you can see daily mentions sometimes are up upwards of 200 different daily mentions, and so they are around the clock replying on Twitter and just really helping to make sure that you get the information that you need, and that we are answering any questions and passing along concerns. Right, if we start hearing things about a feature, or if something is down, then they help let the rest of the team know and file issues and get the ball rolling in the right direction. So again, we encourage you to check out some of these channels if you haven't already. So we've got the forum.gitlab.com. At Twitter, we've got @GitLab, and we're watching that. So if you have a question, we'll be able to answer it. We're up on Hacker News and Reddit as well. So please definitely come in and connect with us on our channels. And finally, I want to mention a little bit about the technical evangelist team. Again, they are really, they're bringing the technical depth to what we do, and also keeping a pulse on the industry itself. And so bringing all of those things together with their whole objective is connecting with you. It's really an exciting thing to watch and be a part of. And this is just a summary of kind of some of our recent events: KubeCon, the Cloud Native Summit online, JS conference in Hawaii, Remote Stack, and so they really do get out there. And if you're looking for a technical speaker on GitLab or anything to do with DevOps, please definitely do consider our technical evangelist team. They are excellent at what they do. And they're also involved in some organizations around the world. So Brendan is on the Cloud Native Computing Foundation board, and they're involved in Kubernetes and a whole bunch of different open source places and partners. So again, part of what they do is really keep a pulse on that in the community, and I think it's a job that I'm definitely envious of, because you get to learn all these things and talk about it and just really just be a sponge and then help spread the word about cool things that are happening, and they're really, really good at it. Just to kind of, as we're closing out here, just make a mention about nonprofits. So we get a lot of questions about supporting nonprofits, and right now we don't have a formal nonprofit program here at GitLab, but we do partner kind of on a case-by-case basis, and we are with certain nonprofits, and we're really hoping to grow this program over time. Right now our bandwidth is pretty full with the existing programs that we have, so we haven't quite opened the door up yet, but we're getting very close, and that's one of the things I've been charged with, to start growing that part of the program. So if you're a nonprofit out there, please do stay tuned. We hope to have some good news coming here soon. But I did want to just mention one of the things that we're working on is a partnership with the Last Mile, which is an organization here in the United States. And again, the Last Mile is partners with over, I think it's 14 different, the number might not be right there, but it's a good chunk of different prisons around the United States to partner with people who are currently incarcerated and interested in working in tech and building up their skill set. And so just last week, we had one of our, that's Brendan there, our technical evangelist, give a presentation on what GitLab and DevOps is to a group of students and youth who are in the program from a couple different facilities around the United States. And also it was exciting because our CEO, Sid, came in and also talked to the group, and we had plenty of time for question and answer. And so we did another one on Monday as well about how the recruiting process works at a company like GitLab, and just giving some mentorship on resume building and what the interview process looks like. And so it was a really, really great and rewarding experience. And so we encourage you, if you're connecting with different kinds of populations that are learning tech, we would love to hear from you and figure out how we can work together going forward. So our email address here is community@gitlab.com, and we would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, we can send you some resources, or again, please feel free to reach us on Twitter or Hacker News, and we would love to connect. So with that, I'm going to take a pause and see if we have any questions from the audience.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's really impressive, yeah, to see what initiatives and activities GitLab is building up on and offering. That's really great. And
Thank
of
you.
course, this is causing some feedback, causing some questions. I already got some. So
Great.
I would say let's take the last 5 minutes of the session to go through these. The first question would be, how have your community engagement efforts been impacted by COVID-19?
Sure, absolutely. So we were very engaged in our meetup program, as you saw the numbers there, and most of the meetups have been, and I can stop sharing here. So most of the meetups had been in person. And so if you look at the Nigeria example, there's a lot of people in that local area who are using GitLab or in school or in their company or in their startup, and they would meet together, and we would, send over some, usually we sponsor pizza and we find a speaker, etc. But obviously with the pandemic situation, we haven't been able to do live meetups, in-person meetups. So we've moved the meetups online, and we're using a similar conferencing setup here. And we've actually found that it's really cool to move them online. There's a lot of benefits because people from around the world can join, whereas before it would obviously only be people in Nigeria, because normally we wouldn't be broadcasting them. And so people from who may be connecting on a topic but in different locations can come together, and it's easier obviously to find a amazing speaker because you're not flying them around to that individual location. And we also find that people who may be a little bit more introverted are more likely to come to a meetup that's online, and then they can ask questions, and we do breakout groups. So it ends up being, a more diverse and inclusive experience online. Obviously, it's great to meet in person, and we'll still continue to do that once restrictions start to lift. But we're really happy with the success we're having so far. Great question.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to the next question. Maybe also the hint also for you. We have some questions still, but if you also want to participate in the Q&A, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom panel. So feel free to participate. I think I failed to mention this in the beginning, so I just wanted to repeat that one. But yeah, I think some people got the nick out of it anyway, as we have some questions. So the next question would be, was this community aspect there from the beginning of GitLab? And if so, how did it impact the way you worked?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So GitLab itself started out as an open source project, and so that's really how it got to be, where it was. And in fact, our CEO went to the open source maintainer, Dimitri, and said, "Oh, I want to try to take this somewhere else and build it into something that we can sell." And so it existed before it was even a for-profit company in an open source realm. So I think that it really set the tone of the project and the direction towards everyone can contribute. And when you're as transparent as we are, and driven so much by the direction of the community, it makes for a whole different experience. And I think that that's one of the exciting things about what we have to offer, is that it is an end-to-end full system tool for the DevOps lifecycle. And I'm not sure that you would come to that. I mean, there really is no other platform that does what we do. And so I think a lot of that is because from the very beginning we were a community-driven project.
All right, thank you very much. The next question would be, someone's asking if I'm really interested in contributing but very new to DevOps and also GitLab, how do I get started?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So if you go to our about GitLab community and then contribute, there's a guide there that will walk you through how to make a very simple merge request that is just, say, even a typo. A mistake in our documentation. So if you're reading some of our documentation and you see that it's missing a comma or missing a period, or oftentimes we have our community members who are very new and learning, and so they're following our documentation very closely. And when they do that, they may say, "Oh, this is out of order," or "The way this is written, it's not how it needs to be written, a little bit differently for me as a new user to understand," right? Because sometimes it's a developer who's writing the documentation, and so they may be a little bit too close to the subject. So a lot of it, a really great way to get started is actually through the documentation. And Ray has regular presentations, so if you follow us on Twitter or come to our website, you'll see where he will do meetups that are, he just did one a month or so ago, and they're also all on YouTube. So I don't know if you saw that mentioned in Jessica's presentation yesterday, but all of our meetings, unless they're sensitive, unless they contain sensitive company information, are on YouTube. And Ray has several how to contribute presentations recorded on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go check those out, just search Ray Paik or contribute on our unfiltered channel, and you can watch one of his presentations, and literally within 15 minutes he'll have you contributing.
All right. I think we have time for one final question, which would be, well, you presented actually the number of contributors, which is huge.
Yeah.
What do you think, why, how come the number? Why do so many people make contributions?
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about being an open core software project and offering a free level of the software is that a lot of companies that are just starting out or are just open source themselves, they'll use the free version, and they want to have a feature that we haven't implemented yet. Maybe it's on our roadmap, maybe we're thinking about it. And so what being open source allows them to do is download it, build the feature themselves, right? It's better than starting from scratch. They build the feature themselves, they contribute it back to the core, and then it's then available for them to use. So, self-motivation is obviously one aspect of that, is contributing so that the feature is available for their particular use, because we just maybe haven't prioritized it or gotten to it yet. Maybe it's a bug that they wanted to fix that we haven't gotten to yet. I mean, we try to get to as many as we can, but sometimes you discover a bug that we actually have a bug bounty program, which is really amazing. So we actually pay people and reward them for discovering bugs. So maybe they discover a bug and they need it fixed right away, and so they fix it. Another whole set is really people who are looking to build up their resume and their skill set in tech, and so they see contributing to an open source project as a way to incrementally show that they're able to do certain things and certain skills as they want to go out into the workforce. So it's an amazing way to start building up your credentials in tech without having that job yet, right? So maybe you're in school, maybe you're incarcerated, maybe you're learning, maybe you're trying something out. So it's the idea of everyone can contribute a lot of times is also people just really kind of learning and wanting to start building that experience.
All right. Thank you very much for the detailed answer.
Yes.
I think that does it for the moment. Thank you again for your presentation and for taking all the questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. It was great to connect with all of you.
Right. Bye-bye, Christina. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.